Look, I told you I'm busy right now. We'll have to discuss this later.
Yes, I'll send the attachment.
What if the man you love vanished again without a trace? After months of rebuilding her life, Linda faces her worst nightmare when Quang disappears during a business trip, leaving no calls, no messages, and no sign of where he went. Her desperate search leads her through stormy nights, forgotten towns, and a valley buried in snow, where she uncovers a chilling secret that could change everything. Did Quang truly disappear, or did he choose to leave? The evening breeze drifted through the half-open window, carrying with it the faint scent of rain-soaked earth. Linda sat by the window, her gaze lost somewhere beyond the horizon, where the city lights faded into the dark. The cup of tea in her hand had long gone cold, untouched since Quan's last call 3 nights ago. He had left for a business trip. Just a week, he'd said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear with that familiar tenderness. "I'll call you every night, no matter how busy I get." Those words had sounded like a promise, a fragile thread of warmth she could cling to. But now that thread was unraveling. The first night, Linda stayed up late waiting for his call. When it never came, she tried to convince herself that maybe he was exhausted or his phone had run out of battery. The second night, she sent a message. "Are you okay? Call me when you can." No reply. The third night came and her anxiety began to turn into dread. Every second of silence seemed to echo in her mind, reminding her of the nightmare she thought she had escaped, the months when Quang had vanished without a trace. He had only been back for a few months, and life had just begun to feel normal again. She still remembered the morning he returned, his clothes worn, eyes dim but alive. He never spoke much about what happened, only saying he had been somewhere far, where time didn't move the same. Linda didn't press for answers. She was too afraid that asking might shatter the fragile peace they had rebuilt. But now, as the phone remained dead and the night grew colder, the same fear clawed its way back into her heart. Linda rose from her chair and walked to the small photo frame on the shelf, a picture of the two of them on the day he came home. His arm was around her, his smile soft yet tired. "You're safe now," she had said then. But was he really safe? Or had that safety been nothing more than a borrowed illusion? The ticking clock on the wall grew louder with every passing minute. Outside, thunder rumbled in the distance. The rain began to fall, gentle at first, then heavier, tapping against the window pane like restless fingers. Linda pressed her forehead to the cold glass, whispering his name into the night as if he could somehow hear her across the miles. "Quang, please be okay." Somewhere deep down, she felt it, that unsettling intuition she had learned to never ignore. The silence wasn't just coincidence. It was the same eerie quiet that had come before his disappearance last time. And though she tried to fight the thought, her trembling hands gave her away. Maybe history wasn't done with them yet. Maybe the storm that had once taken him was returning, and this time, it might not let go. Sleep had abandoned Linda entirely. For 3 endless nights, she had wandered between hope and despair. Her phone clutched in trembling hands, as if it were a lifeline that could pull Quang back from whatever abyss had swallowed him. At dawn, she finally gave in and began calling every number she knew. His colleagues, his driver, even the hotel where he was supposed to stay. But no one had seen him. The company claimed he had checked in to the regional branch 2 days earlier, yet there was no record of him leaving. It was as if he had stepped into thin air. Her heart pounded with every unanswered call, every automated reply. She even tried reaching out to John, Quang's old friend who had helped search for him last time, but even he sounded uncertain. "Maybe he just needed a break, Linda," John said over the phone, his voice heavy with forced reassurance. "He's been through a lot." But Linda knew that tone, the same one people used when they were afraid of telling her the truth. She stood before the mirror, her reflection pale and weary, eyes rimmed red from sleepless nights. The house felt unbearably quiet. No sound of Quang's footsteps, no soft hum of his voice as he made coffee in the kitchen. Only silence pressing against her from every corner. On the table lay his last message. "Don't worry if I'm late tonight. There's something I need to finish first." Those words had seemed harmless at the time. Now they haunted her. Linda decided to search for him herself. She gathered what little information she could, the name of the town he had gone to, the company documents he had taken, even the license plate number of the car he used. She drove for hours through the mist-covered highways, her heart racing each time she saw a car that resembled his. The world outside blurred into streaks of gray and rain. When she finally reached the small town where Quang was last seen, the air felt different, heavy, almost watchful. The local innkeeper told her no one by his name had stayed there, though a man matching his description had been seen buying a ticket at the bus station 2 nights ago. "He looked troubled," he said, scratching his head, like he was running from something. That night, Linda sat in her car, parked by the deserted roadside, staring at the ticket stub the innkeeper had given her. Her hands shook as she turned it over. A destination written in faded ink, Yen Valley. She had never heard of the place, and yet the name stirred something cold and familiar inside her. The rain began again, tapping on the windshield like a heartbeat. Linda's chest tightened as she whispered into the storm, "Where are you, Quang?" The fear she'd been fighting for days finally broke through. What if this wasn't just another business trip gone wrong? What if the nightmare that had taken him once had returned to finish what it started? And as lightning flashed across the sky, for a fleeting second, she thought she saw a shadow standing by the trees, still, silent, watching her. Morning crept in slowly, painting the world in a pale, uncertain light. Linda had driven through the night, guided only by the fading ink on that mysterious ticket and the desperate rhythm of her heart. Her car came to a stop at the edge of Yen Valley, a remote stretch of land where mountains slept under a heavy quilt of snow. The air was so cold it burned her lungs, and every sound seemed swallowed by the endless white. She stepped out, boots sinking into the frost, her breath forming fragile ghosts in the air. Somewhere in this frozen silence, she hoped to find him, or at least a trace of him. The locals she asked knew little. Some had seen a man who matched Quang's description wandering toward the old cable mill at the foot of the hill, carrying nothing but a backpack and a camera. He didn't look lost, one woman said softly, but he looked like he didn't want to be found. The words struck Linda like a blow. What could he possibly be running from? Or toward? She pressed on, her body aching from the cold, her mind clinging to the fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, he was still somewhere close. As the day dimmed, she found herself before the abandoned mill. Its rusted roof sagged under the weight of snow, the door hanging ajar. Inside, the air smelled of dust, iron, and something faintly familiar. the lingering trace of cologne she recognized instantly. Quang, she whispered, her voice trembling. The echo of his name faded into the hollow space, unanswered. She searched through the shadows, old machinery, shattered windows, footprints half buried in the frost, until something on the ground caught her eye. A small envelope, sealed and slightly damp from the melting snow. Her heart nearly stopped as she picked it up. There was no name, but she knew it was for her. The handwriting was unmistakable, sharp, steady, and deeply familiar. With shaking fingers, she tore it open. Inside was a single photograph. Quang standing on a snowy ridge, the mountains rising like ghosts behind him. His expression was calm, almost serene. But what chilled her was the symbol drawn on the back of the photo. A circular mark, the same one she had seen months ago carved on the locket he wore when he was found after his first disappearance. Beneath it, a single line in his handwriting read, "If you find this, don't look for me again." Tears blurred her vision as she clutched the photo to her chest. The world around her felt suddenly vast and empty, as if the snow itself were swallowing all warmth, all meaning. For a long time she stood there, her breath shallow, her body shaking, not just from the cold, but from the dawning realization Quang hadn't vanished this time. He had chosen to leave. Yet even as the truth began to settle like frost in her veins, something in the distance caught her eye. Faint footprints leading away from the mill toward the forest beyond. The wind howled and the sky began to darken again. Linda took one deep breath, folded the photo carefully into her pocket, and followed. Because no matter what his words said, her heart refused to believe this was the end.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các khán giả của kênh Lý Tử Ninja Review. Vậy là câu chuyện của chúng ta hôm nay đã kết thúc tại đây. Trong câu chuyện của chúng ta hôm nay thì Quang đi công tác xa và lại bị mất liên lạc với Ninja. Điều đó làm cho cô cảm thấy rất là lo lắng bởi vì anh vừa mới trở về cách đây vài tháng sau những chuỗi ngày mất tích. Liệu rằng bi kịch có lặp lại hay không? Tất cả sẽ được hé lộ vào các câu chuyện tiếp theo. Các bạn hãy bấm vào nút subscribe để đăng ký kênh, nhận được thông báo mới nhất về các tập phim sẽ được phát sóng hàng ngày trên kênh nha. Cảm ơn các bạn rất nhiều. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.